Hello everyone, Jing Hong here. In this video, let's talk about Yoast, and in particular, I will go through a field demo and show you how to set up your Yoast, okay? If you don't have the Yoast plugin or that you're setting up a new website on your own, then you would want to download Yoast, okay? So I'll provide you with the download link right here. It's yoast.com/wordpress/plugin/SEO. Now, you don't have to copy this because it's actually quite easy to find it. Just type in Yoast WordPress SEO plugin in Google, and you should be able to find it as the first result of the Google result page. Okay? Now, without further ado, let's jump into a demo website, and I'm going to show you how, step by step, to set up your SEO plugin. Alright, so now we are on a demo website and I've logged in, and if you haven't, go ahead and log in. It will be good to follow this video step by step as I show you, and then you could pause the video and do it on your website. Then you don't need to rewatch this over again, okay? So here we go. Now once you're logged in, just go to the sidebar on the left and click on SEO and the page will load. Alright, now once you're on the dashboard, just go on one by one and we'll introduce you what to set up for each and every field. Okay, so let's do a run through of the plugin. So under the general tab, you have start tour. So if you want to see Yoast video tour, then go ahead and click on start tour. Latest changes, if you're interested, you could view the changes, and if you happen to set up something that's wrong and you don't know what's happening, you could restore default settings, or rather the factory settings, and then after that reset up the Yoast plugin again. Okay, and then just click on save changes when you have restored to the default settings. Okay, your info. So here is where you put your website name. Okay, I'm not so concerned about the alternate name. So in this case, what do you want to call your website? So my demo website is webmarketinghq.com. So simply, the domain name of the website. So webmarketinghq. So go ahead and set up yours as well. Okay, company or person. So this data is shown as metadata in your site. Now, if you are running this website and you speak for yourself, then you could choose person and then put in your name or pen name right here. However, if you are running your site more like a company, okay, so you have a front that is company, then just go ahead and choose company, put in your company name, upload your company logo. So it really depends on how you are fronting your site. So go ahead and set this up, and once that's done, just click on save changes. For me, I'm just going to set up as a person, and I am going to put in my real name in this case. Just click on save changes, and you're done. Next up, we are going to the Webmaster Tools tab. Here you can put in the codes that is given by Bing Webmaster Google Search Console, right? Or commonly known as Google's Webmaster Tools and the Yandex Webmaster Tools. So Bing is owned by Microsoft. If you want to get the codes, you could click on Bing, and then it's going to bring you to a new window. Just go ahead and sign in with your Microsoft email, and then obtain the codes from there. Okay, so we are back here, and for the Google Search Console, just use your Gmail to log into the Google Webmaster Tools account, and then obtain your Google Search Console password, and you want to put it in right here. For Yandex, it's a Russian search engine. We don't really care that much about it, but if you do want to use it, then you can go ahead and click on the link to sign up for a Webmaster account. Now, for security, just keep it disabled. So next up, let's move down the column. We have titles and metas. The title separator here refers to the default separator that you want to put for your article title field. And readability analysis, make sure that you keep this enabled so that it will give you a report on the readability score for your individual page and post. Okay, so if you do change anything, then just click on Save Changes before you move on. Next up, the home page tab. You do want to change this to something else so that you upgrade the title template or the title name of your homepage from something by default to a customized one. Feel free to change it the way you want it, but for now, I'm just going to put it exactly the same as my general settings. Now for meta description template, you want to put in like 156 character long, or rather not more than 156 character long description about your website. So you want to write something to tell people what this website is about. So here I can put in something, learn about generating. So you do want to think about writing a meta description that will attract people to click on your homepage. All right, you want to think about that because when it reflects in Google, it's going to show up in these two lines right here. Okay, so by writing something that is attractive, it can increase the click-through rate of your site, or rather homepage, when it shows up on Google. Okay, let's move back. Next up, we have post type. So here, again, there's a bunch of default codes. You don't want to change all this, especially for your posts and your pages, okay? And the meta robots, just keep it as index. That means you do want Google to show your post on their search engines results page. The date in snippet, I would keep as show for the post, all right, unless you want to hide it. What I mean is the dates here, okay, it's right here. So sometimes you don't want it to show for, dated posts, then you could just hide it by. Sometimes if you don't want the dates to show up in the Google search engine, then you can go ahead and ask Yoast to hide it. All right, but for post, I would prefer to show it. Okay. Yoast SEO meta box by default is show. Always make sure that you keep this on so that you can do the customized settings at the post level later on. Pages, make sure it's index as well. But in this case, I would hide the date because usually we use pages for evergreen data like your privacy terms, your contact pages and stuff like that. So we don't need to show the date of when it is published. Keep the Yoast SEO meta box on as well. For the media, well, pretty much, again, we don't want to touch the codes. We could change or customize this later on. But for a start, we don't really need to worry so much about it. For the meta robots, yes, we do want the index so that our media, in particular the images, will show up in Google Images. Date in snippet, well, we can hide it. And again, just keep the default show for Yoast SEO meta box. All right. Next up, taxonomies. Taxonomies refers to your categories and your tags, all right? So for the categories, I do use them, and pretty much you could change this if you want, but just leave it intact for now, okay? And leave this as default. For tags, I don't really use tags, so I don't have my tags on for my post as well. In that case, I put this to no index and simply just hide my meta robots. Save changes. So now we move on to archives. Archives, they are just like your taxonomies, but in this case, we're talking about your author archive. So unless you have more than one author and you do want to showcase what articles were published by each author, you don't really need this. In those cases, you could just disable it, all right, and no index it. The dates archive, pretty much we don't need it, so I'm gonna disable it as well, and it's by default set to no index. There are some special pages where has been default set to no index follow, okay, by Yoast. You don't really need to worry about these. All right, so next up, we're gonna move on to social. So when you want to set this up, make sure that you have set up your social channels, and the biggies are the Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Google+, but not to forget your YouTube channels as well. And once you have set those up, just go ahead and put in your Facebook page URL, your Twitter username, okay, which is not the URL, but just simply the username that you're using on Twitter. If you have Instagram, go ahead and put in as well LinkedIn. So if you're running a B2B business, okay, it does make sense. If you're not, well, it's good but optional. MySpace, it's kind of you know, a niche thing. MySpace nowadays has more audience targeted for entertainment. So if it does make sense for a business and you have a MySpace account, then by all means put it in, right? Pinterest, well, if you have a lot of images to share, and primarily if the audience are women, then it does make sense to have a Pinterest account, and then you want to put it in right here. YouTube is a must today, okay? And at Entrepreneur Ignited, we do have a set of training videos to talk about how to set up your YouTube channel and optimize your videos for them. Okay, Google+, well, if you have a Gmail account, or rather a Google account, then it's easy to set up a Google+ account as well. All right, now let's move on. We have XML sitemaps. Now this is more for the search engine, and by default is enabled. You do want to keep it enabled. Here there's really nothing much you need to do. Keep the number 1000 as a default. When you go to the user sitemap, you get to decide whether you want to enable or disable your author sitemap. I prefer to keep it disabled. Go to the post types, make sure that the posts and pages are in the sitemap. And for your media, you want to choose in sitemap as well to show the images. Okay, just click on Save Changes. And then excluded post, well, unless you want to exclude certain posts, then you don't really need to use this. For the taxonomies, we have the categories and tags. I would keep my categories. I'm not using the tags as for most part, so I don't want to show it in my sitemap. Just click on Save Changes after that. Okay, let's move on. Woo! All right, so we're on a roll here. Breadcrumbs, it depends whether you want to use it. By default, it's disabled. If it does make sense and you want to, increase the user experience for it, then you can enable it. And you don't need to worry so much about all this unless you want to customize it. But the thing is that by enabling the breadcrumb, sometimes it does break certain themes. So you do want to see, just give it a try and see, if it does, if it works well for your team. If it doesn't, just disable it. Okay. Now, next up, permalinks. Permalinks is the way you want to set up the structure of your URLs. So for most part, it is good to remove the category from the category URLs. All right. Otherwise, you would have this extra word /category/ showing in your URL. That makes your URL longer. Okay. The best practice is for URL structures, we want to keep it as short as possible. So I would remove and tell Yoast not to show them. Okay, redirect attachment URLs to parent post URL. Don't really need to worry so much about it. Just keep it as no redirect. Clean up permalinks. Remove stop words from slugs. So by default it removes, but really I prefer to keep it. All right. Remove the question mark reply to com. You don't have to worry about what it is now, but it does cause a lot of problems if you keep this, so we do want to remove it. All right, and redirect ugly URLs, as Yoast say, it's not recommended to be activated, so you just keep it as no redirect, and then you save changes. All right, so pretty much the settings have been set up. There are some optional stuff like the tools where you could do bulk editing, and that is for you to change your SEO title if you want to give it a revision for all your posts. All right, but if you're starting out as a new site, really you don't have to worry so much about it. Now, not just the title, you could also change the meta description as well. For file editor, unless you know what you're doing, don't change anything on the robots text and the HTXS file, especially so for the HTXS file. One wrong code is going to break the entire website. So try not to do anything unless you know what you're doing with these. Okay. Now let's get back to the tools page. We have one last one, which is import and export. So for example, you have set up the settings for your SEO by Yoast, and you just set up a new website and you don't want to do the same settings again. What you can do is to go to the website that has been set up and just click on export. Okay, if you want to include taxonomy metadata, just click on it, and then you can export your Yoast settings. On your new site, just go to import, click on browse, upload the settings that you have exported, and click on import settings. Import from other SEO plugins. Well, if you have a site that has been running on some other plugins like Headspace 2, All-in-One SEO, or WP SEO, and you want to switch over to Yoast, then Yoast offer a quick and easy method to import all the SEO title and the meta description from these plugins. Okay, so if you are using Headspace 2, just click on Headspace 2, and you can choose whether you want to delete the old data after import. It is recommended so as to save the space on your server, and click on import. All right, so last up, we move on to Search Console. If you have not linked your Yoast plugin to the Google Webmaster Tools, then you won't have all these results. This is reported by Google Webmaster Tools, or rather the Google Search Console. And what Yoast does is simply that it pulls the data from the Search Console. And you can look at the smartphone, featured phone, and stuff like that. If there isn't any data, there isn't. Okay. And again, settings. So if it doesn't kind of work, then you can re-authenticate with Google just to make sure that they sync up and link up again, okay, between Yoast and the Google Webmaster Tools. Extensions, well, you don't have to worry about it right now. These are paid services. All right, so there we go, and I hope I've given you a very clear step-by-step on how to set up your Yoast plugin. If you have further questions or clarifications, you know where to find us. Send us a support ticket and we'll be happy to help you. So thank you for watching, and bye for now.